Welcome to Heels, Handbags, and Hustle. Step in faith, carry love, pursue God's calling. This is your host, Rachel Earp, and I'm so delighted that you found my show. My podcast is dedicated to encouraging women to be more bold, confident, and secure in their work and femininity. I've had the privilege of bringing on many outstanding women who share their journeys, stories, and successes with us. I believe women should embrace their God-given gifts and abilities without the entanglements of fear, comparison, or past mistakes. As a wife, business owner, and mom of 2 boys, one with Down syndrome, I have found such joy in the community of supportive women. My prayer is that this podcast elevates each person who listens and inspires a closer walk with God. Now, let's get to it, friends. Welcome, friends, to another episode of Heels, Handbags, and Hustle. I'm really excited that you're joining us today because I have a treat for you. I have an amazing and dynamic, lovely lady here on the show today that I've been so excited to bring onto an episode. Her name is Andrea Merrill. And Andrea, I just want to thank you for taking time today to come and share. I know I don't even want to reveal all the things that are as infiltrating your story because I want you to share that. So if you could start with your background, who is Andrea? Let's start from kind of the beginning and give people a glimpse of all of the different pivotal moments in your life to bring you to now.
Thank you so much. I love that. So I am Andrea Merrill with Virtually Adventurous, and I'm a speaker monetization strategist that works with speakers to create amazing opportunities for them. So that is creating money from the stage, whether that's in person or online. But my journey really started as a behavior and trauma therapist. I have my master's degree of science of psychology and applied behavioral analysis, and I take that with the strategies of marketing of today, and I craft amazing websites and funnels that really resonate with your audience. And not only does it resonate with your audience, it puts dollars back in your pocket. And I believe when you are creating more revenue, you're creating more impact, which more impact leads to more opportunities. And I've helped my clients generate over $80 million in revenue. Not only that, they landed Netflix specials. They've had red carpet runways and been complete amazing opportunities for themselves. So thank you so much, Rachel, for having me today. I'm really excited to be here.
Too. And okay, so I'm thinking of, first off, let's start with this degree that you decided to pursue. What got you interested in this type of realm? Because first off, I'm sure it wasn't easy to obtain, but there had to have been something that drew you to it. Was it just that you were fascinated as a little girl, or what are the things?
No, I wish that's the story that I could give you. I came to this because I wanted to give a voice to those that didn't have ones. And there was a reason that I was on all high profile cases here in Arizona, North Carolina, and South Carolina. The way I was raised, I was a victim myself. I was in a very abusive household. And I come from a background of trauma, like very, very deep-seated trauma that many people wouldn't even believe. Like when I tell them, they're like, there's no way that you've been through that. Look at the life that you live. So it all started because I was traumatized as a child through various areas of my life. And I always knew since I was a little girl that I was going to overcome them and I was going to be more and I was going to help other children and women and families with what they experienced that I experienced as a child. So it was very deep rooted from my own background.
Definitely. I mean, if there's ever a purpose, I mean, I can see how that would be. But as you were going through that and you're helping and mentoring other people that are victims in that way, did it ever trigger things for you, or were you able to work through it to where you could separate? Like, how do you keep that, the personal from moving into the professional in that realm?
That's a really good question. And for me, I didn't bring it home with me. And the reason that I didn't bring it home with me is because I knew that I wasn't, their story wasn't my story. And I believe that I have really overcame what I went through as a child. And I wanted these children and families to really feel supported. I didn't want them to feel triggered when they talked to me or if I brought up trauma. I also didn't want to bring it home because I didn't want my children to feel that either. And that's not fair to them because I went through it. I have made sure that my children have not went through it. So they actually don't know of most stories of me growing up and the way that I was raised and the things that I have been traumatized to. And that is something that I'm now healing and really talking about with my children. But again, they weren't raised around it. And I've done exactly what I set out to do. I remember when I was a little girl, Rachel, I said, I'm going to become a mother. I'm going to become a wife, and then I'm going to do I'm going to go to school. And that's exactly how I did things, like literally to the T. And with that came like so much more responsibility. And I always said I wanted to be a better mother than my mom ever was. And I'm really proud to say that today I am a way better mother than my mom ever was.
Yeah. The determination that you had, even as a child, deciding like, hey, this is you didn't let all of those things define Andrea. Like
Exactly.
You were on a mission that goes so much more beyond what most of us, when we enter in a professional field or we say, this is my life plan or this is what I want to do, it doesn't stem from a lot of the hard things that you had to go through. And you didn't have a choice as to whether you had to go through them or not. That was your reality.
Yeah.
So how inspiring that you didn't let it define you, but not even just that, you decided to help others and help them go through that transformational journey that you did. So I'm so touched by that. Like that's a beautiful testimony that there's hope.
There is hope.
Yeah.
There is hope. Ooh, I got
amazing.
chills.
Yeah, hope that word is everything. And I think a lot of people in this world don't feel like they have hope or opportunity because it's not right at their foot. You know what I mean?
Right.
How sometimes people think that opportunity is just going to always knock on your door. And sometimes it just doesn't work like that. You have to go out and find it. You have to go out and do the work and do the things. Yeah. And it's an adventure, and I think that probably ties into,
yes,
I see
it does.
Virtually Adventurous on your wall. So let's talk about Virtually Adventurous. I know a little bit about that, but let's pull out the fun side. Like what? You obviously have a ton of fun with helping people monetize and go, and really shine on their stages.
Yeah.
So how did that come from? That's a very deep transition into something that's so fun. So can you share about that?
Yeah. So actually, I started off as a brand website designer and SEO strategist. When I started Virtually Adventurous, I was trying to figure out and pull the pieces. I helped my client, or actually one of my best friends at the time, I helped her make $80,000 a month in reoccurring revenue. And I was like, oh my gosh, if I can do this for you, I can do this for other people. Like there has to be a market. So I started researching it. I started looking everything up, and I realized what I loved the most was the brand, the website, and the SEO piece. And I started off there. And then what I realized, which goes into another story, but what I realized is I underwent weight loss surgery a year and a half ago. I've lost over 150 pounds in the past year and a half. And what I realized with each piece of weight that fell off of me, I wasn't living to my full potential. I was not doing the thing that I set out to do. And when I started, it was giving a voice to those that don't have one. Well, guess what speakers do? They give a voice to those that don't have one, and they allow them to use their voice to speak up. They teach them how to use their voice to continue to grow in their business. So now I'm working with speakers because they can give the audience that tenacity, that grit, that feeling, that like those aha moments that you like go home and you're like, oh my gosh, I've been needing this forever. This is like the piece that I've been missing. And they have now inspired the audience. And it's going back to that little girl that always said that she wanted to give a voice to those that didn't have one. And speakers can do that on such a massive level. I could only do it with each family that I worked with. And I felt like that wasn't enough. So working with speakers now is like, that's literally what they're doing.
Oh, that's, I just want to sit in that for a moment because it's so powerful that even like that a little idea that you had and that heart's desire to see how it is compounded and grown and snowballed into what it is now. So how do you help coaches and speakers, and what is it that you find? Is there like a commonality on struggles that they have? Is it giving them more confidence or helping them articulate better? Or is it kind of a combination of everything?
It's a combination of everything, I would say, but most of the reasons that they come to me is because they know I can build a website. So I learned how to code, I learned how to develop, which is crazy, especially being a mom of 5.
Like you don't do like a basic GoDaddy. You go into the deep.
I go into the deep nitty gritty stuff. Like you are not getting something that you're going to see everywhere else. Yeah, I like to, like I was giving birth every single time that for some reason, I was getting a paper done for school and they would be like, you have to put that away. I was like, this is due. And they're like, no, but you're due. I was like, I know I'm due, but this is due. I don't care. So I would always be getting it done. And it's kind of like that. Like I've taken that tenacity in everything that I do is I have to get it done and I want to learn more. And I'm an avid learner. So, so what I help them with is really figuring out, their website. I want to make sure it has a psychology driven design on it. There's lots of psychology in marketing and there's lots of psychology behind how you're building your website. The next thing that we're really going to work on is a freebie. Many people, or even your offer goes next, to be honest. We're going to work on your offer. We're going to refine it because through working through your offer, people don't realize that that's where you get your keynote speeches are from. If we're constantly renaming what our topics are and we're re-putting out different names, nobody's going to know you for that one thing. So you need to stand out, and it always comes from your offer and what you teach. And then we come up with subtopics because we have our keynote that you can get paid for. And then you'll have your subtopics like getting on a podcast, getting in summits, getting in different places. Then after we're done with that piece, we move into a really sexy and beautiful funnel because I believe that it's the handbag, right?
Yeah.
Like we have our offers, our heels are going forward. Yeah. Then we have our handbag so we can be able to get people on. And then I work on the funnel piece because that's what's really going to drive people to selling an offer. And what I encounter is people say that I don't want to be salesy. Well, you're not being salesy. I teach people how to sell from the stage by not being salesy. And they're paying to come see you. And B, how are they going to learn everything that they really need to move forward? So if you're not giving them an opportunity to learn from you and increase that revenue stream, then you're not generating the actual impact that you want to do. Right. And that is like the last piece. And then people can actually hire me to come out and I create an entire strategy for them that's in person. I take photography, videography, and get them in their element, get testimonials, all of that fun stuff. And yeah, wow, that's what we do.
The whole package.
Like I really think about it. I really thought about each piece that they needed in their in their speaking journey. And I realized that, if I was to help them with one little piece, then they have to go out and find somebody else to then
Mhm.
hopefully bring in both pieces. And I'm like,
Right.
well, I know it and I breathe it. Like, why not do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's so fulfilling for you. Like this is
So
where you
fulfilling.
find joy and purpose.
Yeah.
And you just really shine. And that energy is so contagious, even from your email signature to like everything about you. I was so drawn to you. I'm like, okay, I
Thank
know
you.
that I have to have this girl on my show because, it's just number one. I mean, I didn't even know the depth of your story and I just was like, okay, this is who you are now. And it's so beautiful and stunning. And it's a testament of the hard work that you have put into it because I know those things don't just magically appear. There's a lot of work and dedication and sacrifice that goes into building a presence and building a brand, but also how you help other people who, they have a message, they have a story, or, they have a skill or knowledge or wisdom, but they just don't know, like, where do I start? And like you said, there's so many different types of coaches out there, even that they might help you with one piece of it, but then you're going to go and, okay, well, I don't know how to do that other thing that they were telling me I have to do. So I got to find someone to help me. And then they might have an entirely different feng shui that is, it
Yes.
doesn't mesh. So then you feel distracted and disoriented. And I love that you come in and you start from the very beginning and you work through the evolution of a powerful speaking like opportunity, but developing, the back end things like the digital and the SEO and the website, like all of those things are so important. And I see so many times people that like they might skip out on like a really great website and you go to look up that person and it's like, oh, like this doesn't speak well of their brand, So when you're working with these people, what do you find is a lot of, do you ever have resistance or parts of it that maybe people are just a little like, I don't know if I really want to go there, or they're uncomfortable with? How do you help them overcome the uncomfortable is what I'd like to know.
Yeah. So this is where being a therapist comes into play.
Wow, girl, you were just amazing. I forgot about that quick.
Oh yeah. I like to say that I give like speaker therapy. That's what I am. I'm a speaker therapist
Yep.
on top of it. Anytime that I've worked with my clients, I always have to bring back in that, hey, Andrea used to be a behavior and trauma therapist. Like this is just a behavior. This is a pattern that they have continuously done. And it's easy to stay in that pattern.
Hey friends, sliding in here really quick to talk to you about OneShare Health. It is a Christian healthcare company that is such a phenomenal option for those of us who are looking for health insurance, but kind of want to think outside the box when it comes to that coverage. This is a product that I have looked deeply into and I personally use, endorse, and share with other people, and has blessed so many families like ours. The rates are phenomenal. The coverage is amazing. And I just love what they stand for and the integrity behind the company and the products. So if you're a family, a business owner, or an individual that is looking for health insurance options that are outside of what you find in traditional, like through the ACA or other types of venues, I want to encourage you to check out OneShare Health. It's super easy to enroll, and I can share the link in the show notes for you so that you can easily access different types of plans. And if you need help, just remember I am here to answer any questions that you have. So give it a try, check it out, and I hope to be that resource for you in this realm. So thanks for listening, guys.
I also work on the PR piece. And when you start working on PR, people are like, wait, I can be on that podcast? And I'm like, well, why can't you? Like literally asking those more thought-provoking questions, I think is super important. Like I have my like meter going, like thinking, okay, what are they going to come back with? And I'm ready to tell them exactly why they need to follow this. And the reason that they need to follow it is it wasn't working before. Like if it was, then you wouldn't be working with me, right? Like you wouldn't be coming to me. So a lot of the time I do push. I had one person push back and I had almost a 2-3 hour conversation with them. That's how long. And I finally got them to agree on the price of their course that I had already said they should do. Like literally, like the whole time I'm telling them, I'm showing them proof. Somebody had happened to buy it randomly. And I was like, what other proof do you need? So we went through all the proof and then we went through the strategy and they ended up making $50,000 in 3 days.
That's amazing.
So it's worth pushing back when you know that, hey, I am literally thinking about you and what money you can put back away. And when I looked at how much they would have made before, it was around $18,000 to $20,000. Imagine if I would have been like, okay, sure, I'm not going to argue with you. Let's go ahead and move forward. They wouldn't got that opportunity that got them that $50,000. And that is incredible. And then they ended up selling out their coaching program. Like it was like a ripple effect that happened.
That is so cool. And I think too, it's easy for people to just settle because once again, they don't think bigger. Yeah. And it sounds like you challenge people and you had to challenge yourself to think bigger, to dream bigger, and not be afraid to take the steps to make that dream become a reality. Exactly. And that, you know, there's no price that can be put on that realization. I mean, just that mindset change alone transforms everything else in your life because people can get so stuck in that mindset. And it does have a negative effect on everything. Like you might be able to get some momentum on your own or get some success, but until you can break free of that stronghold, and that begins with your mind. And I don't think people realize how valuable and extraordinarily important it is to really bring that more under control, because I think people think that, well, my mind, like I can't control the things that come into it and that are happening in my life and the circumstances, which is true, but that becomes like a crutch where people think that, well, you know, that all of these things are happening to me, and then it becomes an excuse as to why they don't move forward and they don't break free. And it goes back to how you value yourself, like valuing yourself enough to realize, hey, you know, I'm worth working through this. I'm worth healing from the trauma. I am worth setting a higher price tag on my gifts and my strengths and what I know. But gosh, that's a hard place to get out of. It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah. Many people do stay in that, and yet, and I hate to use this word, but we wallow. Mm-hmm. We like wallow in what we're going through, and we have to get out of that mindset because wallowing isn't going to get you anywhere. So yes, I allow myself to wallow. I will be honest. I do. I let myself feel my feels because as a therapist, I will tell you, you have to feel your feels. If you are not allowing yourself to feel what you are going through, you will never grow what you go through. And if you don't allow the tears to stream down your face and you don't allow yourself to feel those emotions, then how are you ever going to let yourself move past them? But we can't stay in that. We have to come, like my story when I first started. I cried all the way to the water company. I allowed myself 15 minutes of crying. I mean, like sobbing. I was sobbing. And then on the way home, I was like, no, we're not going to feel sorry. Andrea, we're going to pick ourselves up. We're going to pull up our big girl, right? Like we're pulling up our big girl shorts. We're moving forward and we're going to find a plan and we are going to stick to it and we're going to execute it. But we are going to figure it out. And that's where we need to be. And I love like Marie Forleo, she says all the time, everything is figure it outable. And it is so true. It is so true. We can figure it out, but we have to allow ourselves to be in that space. And then we have to pull ourselves back out. We have to be like, okay, I felt that. but now I'm ready to execute.
I love that I use that word a lot, wallow, because um it's an easy thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate that you give people permission to do that for a little time if they need
Yeah.
to, and grace to, like, hey, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I'm going through. However, you don't give them permission to stay in that state.
Right.
And you tell, like, pull your big girl pants on, and
Yeah.
nobody else is going to do that for you. At the
No.
end of the day, no one else is going to do that for you. They can reach out a hand or they can encourage you and cheer you on, but you have to do that. You have to do that, because if you rely on everyone else around you to pick you up all the time and to pull you back together and to get constantly coaching you and all of the things, and you're not putting in that endeavor and that work, then it's almost like that saying where you can lead a horse to the water, but you
Yeah.
can't make them drink. Like, you gotta drink or you're gonna die. You know what I mean? It's
Yep.
like there has to be that connection that goes on. And
Yeah.
it's, I think too, when you can share, like you share and you coach and you everything that you have done comes from not you just like, oh, I want to study this in college and I want to get it. This comes from, hey, I have been there. I know what you're feeling. I know, like, how hard this is. It stems from actually going through it. So
Yeah.
how much more powerful is your words of wisdom and advice? And I can only imagine all of the people that you have helped, and what a tremendous work and inspiration that is, that was so
Thank
much
you.
greater than, hey, I can make money doing this or this can become my profession.
Yeah.
But it goes so much deeper than that.
Yeah, it definitely does go so much deeper. And we can always stay surface level, right? Like, but
Mm-hmm.
that's, I would say, when you say surface level, you don't get to the good stuff. It's like are they
Yeah.
the Twinkies, right? Like, we're not getting to the goods in the middle,
Yeah.
or your pop, right? Like
Yeah.
really. And it's like we gotta get to the good stuff that makes our why the reason every day we wake up and we're like, we want to do this. Like, I wake up every day super excited to talk to the people that I'm working with and how I'm helping them and how much they're growing and what successes they're getting. My client messaged me yesterday. He's like, oh my gosh, I was just on TV. Like, he was so excited. He sent that right over to me. And those are the things that make me super lit up. They make me so excited. Like, on Friday, I did a session with one of my clients, and she has been speaking and in this industry for over 20 years. And she had like 20 plus talks, like so many different talks. And she's like, I just don't get how it like leads back to what I'm doing. Like, she just couldn't figure it out. And I'm like, that is okay. Let's look at exactly what your core talk is. Like, what is the one thing that you really talk about? And she was able to fly off the handle and say it. And I was like, okay, now how do we break that down into 5 easy steps? Because then it's going to depend on where you are going into. It is as easy as doing that, maybe talking to somebody, maybe getting on a call with a friend. But don't allow yourself to stay stuck, because when we do that, you can stay stuck forever, or you can choose to fail and fail faster.
Very true. So true. I love that last part. I feel like I feel like maybe you've already thought of this, but I could see a whole book like on
Yes.
all of these things like that. It's so many powerful, like, just nuggets and wisdom and phrases and things that we can ponder. But I'd love to know too, going back, because I'm so distracted by the virtually adventurous on the back of, like, I want to
Yeah.
know, what is the adventurous side of Andrea? Like, what are the things and what is the reason behind adventurous? Like, I love that word.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, so I am originally from New York, and I've traveled a lot. And the only reason, or I've moved a lot. The only reason that I moved a lot is my mom considered herself a gypsy, but what I ended up realizing now that I'm older is she ran from her problems. So we moved a lot growing up, and I don't like moving, but I do love traveling and doing new experiences and just having adventurous times. Like, even if it's driving down the highway and like dancing and getting other cars to dance with me, like, I love that. Like, that's adventure to me. Mudding is my go-to. Like, I love wearing heels, a gorgeous like outfit. I remember when I'd come home from therapy and I would be wearing like, I'd be dressed up really nice. And my husband's like, "Are you going to go change?" I'm like, "No." No, I'm not going to change. Like, why would I go change? And he's like, "Okay." And I got in and it was covered all over me. And I live in Arizona now. So I moved from North Carolina to Arizona, and in North Carolina, I felt like I lost who I was. I didn't really know who I was going to be in the world. Besides being a mom, I started a sewing business the same way that I started this kind of business. Yeah, I made cloth diapers because I had three under 3 years old. And I was like, how am I going to put diapers on them? So I started a sewing business. And, but I wanted more from life. So when we moved to Arizona, I found my sense of adventure. I found who I've always been. Like, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is home." Like, I love it. I feel like God brought me here, and I felt like this is where I was always meant to be. And I started doing things that I've always wanted to do, like hiking and going camping. And the last time I went camping was with my aunt in upstate New York when I was a little girl, and it's one of my fondest memories. So now, like, we have a camper, we take our kids out, we're constantly going camping. I love roughing it, also, like a tent and laying on some rocks. Like, so I'm such an avid person. I really am. I really, really am. Because I also love me some heels. So, but
I love it.
that's where my adventure comes from. And we love trying like new places, going to new experiences. And I'm in the year of everything is a yes. Like, I met somebody on Zoom 3 weeks ago for the first time. I didn't even know how to pronounce her name. We totally hit it off, and she invited me to LA, and I went. Isn't that wild? So that is the adventurous side of me. That's like, you know what? Either it's going to be horrific or I'm going to have the best time of my life. And I'm happy to report it was the best time of my life. And it's literally like God put her in my life for a reason.
You were brave, girl. That's just prancing in the mud in your heels and your dress and going to LA 3 weeks after you meet a girl on Zoom.
And at that time, it was only 2 weeks. So, like, I went last weekend, and it was so much fun. I was like, I am crazy. I would never do this. Before, I would never do this. And now I'm like, but what if I don't do it? What if I don't? What if there was something that I needed to learn? What if there was something that was deeper than I could have ever have thought? And it was deeper than I had ever even thought. I laughed, I cried, I created community, I got a new client. Like, I'm telling you, it was honestly the best yes. And it gives me a reason to say yes more often.
I love that you mentioned a yes season, because I hear so many people always talk about the no season, like having to say, saying no more often.
Yeah.
And because, we have a tendency to kind of pile things on our plates, which is understandable. But I've never heard anyone talk about being in a season of yeses.
Ooh.
How do you know when that's an appropriate time in your life, and when if that feels scary for people, like how did it ever feel like scary for you? And just taking those risks and those chances, because like you staying back to what you said, what if I don't? Like that, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that is so powerful right there. What if I don't? And I can honestly say, even with myself, like I don't think about things like that. It's more of like, what's going to happen if I do this? Like, oh
Yeah.
my goodness, like this could be so whatever. But I never really stopped to think about it like that. Like that changes everything for me. So
Yeah.
let's go into that a little bit more if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course not. So I believe seasons of no is boundaries. You need to have boundaries.
Mhm.
And when people are telling you to say no, it means that you're a people pleaser and you don't have any boundaries. So that's the season of it. You should always have in a season of no. And I wouldn't call it a season. It should just be figure out your boundaries and how to, really shy away from people pleasing, or how can you fit it into your everyday? So you're like, okay, I'm not stopping this piece of me. And I only say that because I'm a nurturer. I'm a huge nurturer, obviously, having 5 children. So no for me is like, not really an option with my kids. Like no means like if it's dangerous, if it's going to hurt them, like those type of boundaries. But I want my kids to experience life and I don't want them to hold back. And my mom made me fear everything. She made me fear walking down the street. She made me fear driving, like lock your doors when you're driving. Like everything was based out of fear. And I don't want my children to live in fear. I want them to say yes to opportunities. So the reason that this came about is I noticed I would say no and I'd say yes, and then I wouldn't follow through. So because I'm saying, yes, I want to go to that, like that speaker opportunity, or I want to go to this community event, or of course I'll be there. And guess who doesn't show up? This one. Well, my friend called me out on it. And this was probably 2 months ago now. She called me out on it. And she's like, Andrea, you're saying one thing and you're doing another, and you're not sticking by your word. And I'm a woman of my word. So when she said that, it cut through me. It hurt. And I was like, you know what though? I love you and thank you for bringing that to my attention, because if she wouldn't have, I would still be saying yes when I really mean no.
Yeah.
Or
Mhm.
coming up with excuses. And she tried to get me to this one event for 6 months, guys, like 6 months. And I finally realized, like, but what if I go? What if I go? What experience will I have? Who will I connect with? So I think that you need to be in a place of you're ready to grow. You're ready to get out of your own way. I also want to say I'm an introvert. I'm not an extrovert, guys.
Really?
Yeah, I really
Yeah.
love my downtime. I love sitting and reading or binge watching my criminal shows. Like am I'm the one that like retreats for my energy builders. But
Mm.
um for me, I'm in my yes season of saying yes to opportunities, because when I've said yes now, incredible things have come out of each and every
Yeah,
single yes that I wouldn't have had before.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Everybody needs an Andrea in their life.
I've been
Or
told I'm their
somebody
biggest cheerleader. Yes.
Yeah, I totally see that. I totally see that. But not only are you that with your words, that you just live out your life that way, and it's so
Thank you.
authentic when you can do it, you know, not just saying idle words, but
Yeah.
truly meaningful, and doing that with your life is an inspiration on its own. But
Thank
I
you.
love that. That's a huge takeaway from like this
Yeah.
time together, is getting to the place where you can be in a yes season. Because
Yes.
there's nothing more wonderful than saying yes to something you know that could change your life,
Absolutely.
or that could take something that you've been struggling with, and watching that just kind of
Yeah.
dissolve. but not
And
everything is always saying no.
yeah, and I will say it came from my pivot. So, like, I lost this
Mm,
weight. I made the pivot of working with speakers. And then I'm like, where are my clients? Like, I can't find clients again. I hit $250,000 in my business and I was so excited. Like, I was doing so good. And then I was like, oh, I pivoted and I was like, what did you do, Andrea? Like, what are you doing? Like, should you go back? And I was like, no, I'm going to start saying yes. Let's
mm-hmm.
start saying yes. And then let's see what happens. Because I
Yeah,
know through conversations come conversions. And that again
right.
is what speakers do, right? So I'm
Mm-hmm.
really embodying that piece of being like, let's be in our yes season when we really feel like hiding as a hermit, like, don't look at me. It's like, no, why not me? I was just on CNN. Like,
Wow. How
and I
fun.
can't, because I said yes to one thing, it then led me to being on CNN and they now want me back again.
Oh
So,
my
yeah,
gosh.
when
So
you think,
fun.
yeah, yeah,
That's an amazing experience. Like you don't
yeah,
forget those
no,
times, but like you said, it comes from those pivots in your life, like those life-changing aha moments
yeah,
where you're like it's like it just something downloads into you and you're like,
yeah,
okay, I get this, but now it's time to take action. and
yes,
and you totally go into a different direction and pursuit that
yeah,
you would have just been stuck at like that crossroad type thing where it's like,
right.
okay, which I could go so many different ways, which one do I choose? And I see so
Yep.
many people get caught up, and I've fallen into this trap before, to be honest, where we think, well, I'm good at like there's several things that I love or I'm passionate about,
Mhm.
or maybe I'm really good at. Can I just do
Yeah,
all of them? And not really honing into what are you most passionate about? What
right.
are you most impactful with? And take that and run with it. I think
Yeah.
I see a lot of people that are always chasing gold at the end of the rainbow because they think, well, I can do this and then I could dabble in a little of this. And then they get
Oh,
so
yeah.
distracted trying to do so much that they don't really do any of it well. So
Yeah.
I think that's very important to remember in this
Yes.
journey too.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I'll even like when I was losing my weight, I started weightlifting and I thought that that was the thing
Mm,
to do. And what I noticed was I was like, but I'm not even good with my nutrition yet. Why am I weightlifting? So I
mm.
stopped weightlifting. I stopped doing the workouts and I dropped my weight. It dropped significantly. I went from 265 and I'm proud to say I'm 113 pounds today.
Oh my
Um, a
goodness.
huge
Oh,
difference.
that
But
is.
if I wouldn't have focused on my nutrition for the past year, actually over 2 years, I wouldn't be where I am today. So everything I think you also need to know takes time. Don't beat
Mhm.
yourself up if it doesn't happen overnight. This is not an overnight success. Anything that says it's an overnight success is not going to have the tenacity, the long term growth, the authenticity. You're not going to put your all into it.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like putting that blood, sweat, and tears into what you're doing. And that's literally what I've done with everything that I've done. It is not an overnight success. And I think it goes back to we can't compare somebody's today to what they've been through in the future, right? Like what they've done in the
Mhm.
past. And I firmly believe that because what I've done today is because of what I've done the past 2.5, 3 years with going
Yeah.
towards my weight and then 6 years for my business. So I think that it's really easy to get caught up in that, but you need to remember that it's moving one step forward like we've all done.
Yep. And there's no shortcuts.
No
You know, there's
shortcuts,
there's
none.
no shortcuts as much as we would love to find that
Oh,
little
yes.
shortcut. If you truly want to arrive at that place of whatever that success is defined as for you,
Yeah.
you've got to take the straight path. Like you can't sit and zigzag through all the side alleys, and a lot of times you just end up hindering yourself more in the process.
Exactly.
But I love that. And I'd love to know, as we kind of wrap all of these things up, what are some adventures that lie on the horizon for you, Andrea? Like, what is something exciting that you could share? Like, I'd love to know. I'm going to be busy.
I'm heading to a 6-day retreat in North Carolina at Kill Devil's Hill. And I'm staying at a 39-bedroom home that is right on the beach. I'm so ecstatic about that. I'm getting massages, getting a brand photo shoot, all the things. Then in May, I'm headed to New York. I'm very excited about that. I'm doing a whole creative direction around a speaker that is hosting their retreat. So I'm really, really excited about that. And then we're headed back to North Carolina again in June, where my entire family gets to go enjoy being with the family. And then another fun one is we want to go to Utah and go to Moab. And I love going off-roading. Like, it is my jam. So we're going to go off-roading, go in the sand dunes, and just have a blast.
Utah is such a beautiful,
it's gorgeous.
state.
It's gorgeous.
So my only off-roading experience was actually in Arizona. So we went, I think it was the year before last, to Scottsdale, and then we went up to Sedona, and we did off-roading in Sedona, and it was terrifying. I think because we chose like the most like outrageous Jeep, like in the crevices, like there was nothing delicate about this journey.
I know what you're talking about. I go to Sedona almost once a month, and I've seen all of their all their experiences. At first, it scared me a lot with what you're talking about, and now I'm like, yes, let's go.
I'm sure the more I would do it, I do have to say it was just an incredible experience, and of course, Sedona alone is just breathtaking. But being able to go and see parts that you wouldn't really get to see, and even if you tried to do it on foot, you wouldn't get as far as doing this, but. I didn't know they actually did that in Utah, though. So I think that's amazing.
Yeah. So we actually have an off-roading vehicle. So we have a vehicle, we have a side-by-side, we have different four-wheelers. So yeah, we definitely get out there.
You guys are all serious about this.
We are serious. Yes.
I love it.
I live and breathe and embody adventure.
Every way.
In every way. Yes.
Well, how refreshing is that? And how fun has this conversation been, which I knew it would be. And I just want to thank you for being open about your story and where you got started, and such huge things that you've gone through in your life, and how you're helping people now. And for those who want to follow you and get to know more about your coaching and your adventures, like, what is the best place for people to find you?
Yeah, Rachel, I just want to say thank you so much for opening your podcast to having me on here and opening your heart to me, because honestly, it really means a lot. Everything that you've said the entire time, it's so heartfelt, and I can tell how much you love your guests, and you really put that effort in, which makes a huge difference. I just already adore you. Love everything about you. You're so welcome. Yeah. So where you can find me is virtuallyadventurous.com. And then on all social medias, you can find me at Virtually Adventurous. I like to make it super easy. And that's ADVENTUROUS, just in case some people sometimes are like, I don't know how to spell this. And guess what? Fun fact, I didn't know how to spell it when I picked it too.
I love that even more.
Yes.
Sometimes you think like, okay, it sounds like it should be this way, and then you totally bomb it.
Totally bomb it. I was like, honey, what am I doing? I'm picking a name and I can't even spell it. And I'm like, you know what? That's what happens when you keep going, right? One step in front of the other. Yep.
All the more reason that you needed that word in your life. Much.
That's it.
Well, thank you again. This has been so fun, Andrea, and I'm excited to see, all of the things that you're going to continue to do, the people you're going to be able to reach, and lives that you're going to touch. And I'm excited that you're a part of my life too now. So thank you for this time, and I appreciate all of your words of wisdom today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you in so many ways too.
Thank you. Well, friends, I just want to thank you for listening today. And if this show has meant something to you, please leave a review or rating on whatever platform you're listening to. Also, make sure you follow the show. This helps me continue bringing episodes like this where women can share their stories and link arms together. I hope you feel inspired and refreshed. Now get out there and hustle, girlfriends.